All right, guys. Thank you for being here. Not that you really had much of a choice, but I appreciate Dr. Briggs inviting me to speak today. He kind of explained a little bit about the class. This is the upper level class, correct? You guys are, how far are you from finishing? How close?
Next year.
Next year?
Yeah, next year.
Next year?
24.
Yeah, 24. So we're close. We're close. I'm going to tell you all about me, but I want to get to know you a little bit because I kind of want to know, what your plans are in the future. He said this is what's the name of this course?
Coaching Essentials.
Coaching Essentials. So this is a coaching course. Is everybody in here planning on coaching in the future? All right, what's in your mind? What's your coaching going to look like? What would you hope to do in the future as far as maybe sport, level, that kind of thing?
I don't think I'm patient enough to be a coach right now.
Yeah, not right now. Do you play sports?
Yes, sir. I play football.
You play football now?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. What about you?
I really want to coach at the college level.
Yeah.
Mainly basketball.
Basketball player?
Nah.
No, that's okay. I'm gonna tell you a great story in just a few minutes.
College gymnastics.
Gymnastics? Yeah, gymnastics is awesome. Here's funny. So when I was in college, I did what you guys are doing. Okay, I'm a PE teacher and coach. I've been doing it for 25 years. So when I was in college, went to Landry University, finished it upstate. But one of my practicums that I had to do was I taught 3 and 4K gymnastics at the Chesney Community Center in Chesney, South Carolina. That was a practicum I had. It was hilarious. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you guys, I don't know if you have any practicums and things like that, but I always tell that story because it was great. What about you?
College baseball.
College baseball. All right. Hey,
Hey.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, sir.
What's your name?
Josiah.
Josiah, coaching future in your head, what are you thinking?
Football.
Football?
Yes,
What
sir.
level?
Professional overseas.
Oh yeah? Oh
Yes, sir.
really?
Yep.
That's great.
Yes, sir.
That's great. I actually taught a kid many years ago. He's back now, but he played in Germany for many years. Some of you guys may know him. I don't know. You remember Rachel? What's Rachel's last name?
Rachel, well now it's,
Well, what was it?
it was Kellogg. She's a
Rachel Kellogg. She played lacrosse here.
Oh, yeah.
Her new husband,
president.
Preston, he
Yeah.
played football in Germany for years. Played at our high school. I taught him, coached him middle school, high school, that kind of thing. So yeah, Preston's an awesome guy. He just went to work for FCA, didn't he?
He is the head of FCA at Herman.
There you go. All right. Well, that's great. So got a couple different levels. Got some coaching on our mind. Gonna share a little bit about what I did for 16 years. I coached football for 16 years, high school, middle school level. My background is public school. So I teach and coach in the public school system, District 5, Spartanburg 5, right down the road. Byrnes High School is our high school. We only have one. And I've coached a lot of sports. I currently coach golf. So those of you that have never really paid much attention, or maybe you have, when I was coming up, basically all the coaches that were getting toward the end of their careers, you eventually try to slide into that golf position because it's just a great, easy, it's much easier than anything you ever coached, golf, you just kind of put them out there, drive them where they need to go. Most of them have their own swing coach. I'm more of a cheerleader, and keeping them calm on the course, that kind of thing. They all know they beat me, every single one of them can beat me on the golf courses. So I can see some things in their swing sometimes that I can help correct and things like that. But as far as just day-to-day swing coach, they pretty much have those on their own. And so I'm really just like a support system, a cheerleader for them. But I enjoy coaching golf. I was able to coach Trip all the way through, from middle school through high school. My younger son, he's playing right now. He's in the 9th grade. And I'll be able to coach him through the year he graduates is the year I retire. So I'm almost finished. I'm almost done. And you guys have your entire careers ahead of you. The story I want to share with you is I coached football for 16 years. I never played it down. Not one. I never played Little League football. I never played middle school football. I never played high school football. I played baseball, basketball, and golf in high school. But my father was my coach. He was the PE teacher at my high school. He was our AD. He was our head football coach, head baseball coach. So it runs in my family, right? So as I was coming up from just little, right, just a small guy, old enough to take care of myself and him not have to worry about me too much, I was around athletics. I was at the school. I was at the high school with him, running around, getting in trouble, but I was always on the field, whether it was baseball field, football field, wherever we were. And I was there, and I was learning, I was paying attention, I was listening, not all the time, but I picked up on a lot of things. And so I immediately knew that's all I wanted to do. My major in college was physical education. I never changed it. I never thought about changing it. I watched my dad be a PE teacher and a coach his entire career, and I knew that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. And so that's what I did. And it was my major. I never changed my major. I did end up coming home to finish school here because I was broke off in Greenwood, and I needed a job. I needed some money. But I finished here. All right, it took me a little longer than 4 years, 5.5, right? But I got through it. I got through it and got finished. And then I started coaching. Well, when I started teaching, started coaching, my dad was the AD at my high school. And so I knew I wanted to coach football. And I knew that I had an interest in everything I had played, baseball, basketball, golf. But sometimes you do what's needed, right? So for the first 3 years of my career, I coached girls softball. Now, I don't know if any of you know anything about girls softball, but I couldn't pitch batting practice. I didn't know how. You know, girl, they got to see it coming from here, right? I didn't know how to pitch batting practice. My dad basically said, I need a JV girls softball coach. You know baseball, it'll work out. Just figure it out. So I got with the head coach at the time, and she helped me out a lot. I had to learn how to throw batting practice, right? But I did. I learned, and I got okay with it. I could throw it enough for them to practice hitting, right? I could throw it across the plate. I couldn't do anything with the ball. I could just throw it across. But they eventually got it. And I share that with you to say a couple things. One, as you move forward in your career, take opportunities as they present themselves to you, right? Don't pigeonhole yourself, right? Don't pigeonhole yourself too much. We all have dreams and aspirations, and by God's grace, you will get to those. But understand that there are building blocks to where you want to go, you know? And so I knew that I wanted to coach football. That was my main thing. Never played down, but I knew that's what I loved it. Knew everything about it. Never had to play down. I was a head football coach for 6-7 years. Ran the offense, ran the defense, depending on what year it was and who I had helping me. You know, in middle school, there was years in middle school, it was two of us, 60 kids. You know, we had to practice look funky because we had to do like, we do an offensive day, we do a defensive day. And on the offensive day, I took this group, and the coach that was helping me, he was my defensive coach. But on offensive day, he knew what his roles were on the offensive side of the ball. He would take those kids. And then on defensive day, same thing. We'd switch it up. Most of the time, the line went with him. Skill players went with me. We'd drill one day on offense. We'd drill one day on defense. And then one day, we'd do team. And basically, it'd be ones and twos, switching back and forth. We'd pay attention to the offense one time. We'd pay attention to the defense another time, right? And so you make it work. You make it work. But here's what I want you to get from today. And I want you guys to ask questions. I want you guys to think about, some of the things that you thought about as you've begun to decide, okay, coach is what I want to do. I want to impact young people, right? That's something I see myself doing out in the future. I want to impact young people. Most of us that become a coach, there's a reason. Most of us had a coach. And that coach, that's the reason. That coach that cared about you more than most. That coach that pushed you to be great more than most. That coach that just, there was just something about them that made it special for you. A lot of times that's the reason we want to do. We want to do what we experienced. We want to be for that next kid what we experienced ourselves from that coach, that mentor, and how they were to us. And so, as Dr. Briggs asked me to come today, I thought about some of the things I want to talk to you about. And specifically here in this class, as you get ready to head out into this big bad world of coaching, there's a few things I just want to encourage you. I hope I encourage you today, as you move forward. I coach in the public school system, okay? I'm sure it's very different than coaching in the private school system. It's different than coaching at the college level. Definitely different than coaching at the college Christian school, right? Every place is different. But here's what I know. I know that it doesn't matter where I coach. I'm who I am wherever I am coaching, right? That doesn't have to change. Who I am doesn't have to change no matter if I'm coaching at a Christian school, at a public school, at a college, professionally, or local youth league, right? Who I am doesn't have to change. And so I want to share, the first thing I want to share with you today is kind of my coaching philosophy. Now, this was passed, so when I was at Byrnes, I don't know if you know these people, but I'm going to share them with you. There was this guy that came through Byrnes earlier on when I was coaching football during my coaching career. His name was Marcus Lattimore. I don't know if you've ever heard of Marcus or if you know who Marcus is. He played at Carolina after he left us. He played for he went to play for the 49ers. He had a bad knee that he blew out at Carolina. He re-injured himself. Love Marcus, great kid. He lives out in Oregon now. But when Marcus was with us, everybody was paying attention, right? And the head coach at the time was Bobby Bentley. Bobby his head coach just got fired from University of South Florida, Jeff Scott. But that's where Bobby is. Bobby's at USF right now. He's coaching on the offensive side of the ball. But he's been there. He's been at Carolina. He was at Carolina when his son was playing there. But he was the head coach at my high school when I first started coaching. And he shared this philosophy with us, and I've kept it ever since. I think it's a great philosophy to have. It's the 4 wheels philosophy. And the way he explained it was, there's 4 wheels on the bus, right? If we're a team, we're all on the bus together. We're all on the same bus. We all have a seat on the bus. And there's 4 wheels. You got to keep your 4 wheels right on the bus, because if one of your 4 wheels gets off, then you're gonna wreck, right? You're not gonna be able to move forward the way you want to be moved forward. And here's the 4 wheels. The first wheel is your spiritual wheel. You have a spiritual wheel. Your spiritual wheel, that's you and God, right? That's you and your relationship with God. That's you building that relationship with God. That's you take the time to do those things, right? Taking the time each and every day. I encourage, currently in my role at my local church, I'm the men's ministry director. So I lead men. That's what I do. And I meet with men and I disciple men. And so as a man, we often get caught up in life, and we don't spend the time we need to spend with God each and every day. We don't stay in His Word. We don't pray all the time. We don't journal and study God's Word, right? All the spiritual disciplines that you know you need in your life, right? To anchor you, right? To keep you grounded, right? They're called disciplines for a reason, because they're not easy. They're hard, right? But we do hard things. We do hard things. And so we do hard things. We do our spiritual disciplines. We stay connected to God. We keep that spiritual wheel good and tight and inflated and on the bus, right? Second wheel is our emotional wheel. Our emotional wheel. Now, these things I'm talking to you, these philosophy, these wheels that I'm talking to you about, these are things I would talk to my team about. And I'm talking to my players about this. Players, I want you to keep your spiritual wheel good and tight, good and solid on that bus. Second wheel is your emotional wheel. Your emotional wheel. I want you to try to keep stress out of your life. Right? We can't control everything. We can't. Think about 2 things in your life you can't control. You wish you could, but you can't. You can't control people, and you can't control circumstances. Right? There's people in my life I wish I could control. Don't you have some of those? If you would just do what I tell you to do. Right? If you just do this. But circumstances, you can't control circumstances in your life either. 2 things in your life you can't control. And they push in on us. They stress us. Right? They press in. That's what causes stress in our life. You know, but going back to that spiritual wheel, you fill your life with those spiritual disciplines, with prayer, Bible study, journaling, fasting. You fill your life with those spiritual disciplines, then you're anchored. You can take those pressures. You can take those stresses. But don't cause yourself any undue stress. Right? And what that means as an athlete especially in the school setting, whether college or high school, whatever. When I'm talking to my teams, what that means for them is this. Hey, don't cause yourself any undue stress. Keep your grades up. Keep your work done. Like, don't press yourself on the back end. Don't wait till the last minute to do the things that you need to do in order to be successful over here with me playing this sport. Because you know just as well as I do. In school, high school, middle school, you don't get your work done, you don't play. Right? If you fail, you're out. If you get in trouble, you're out. So keep that stress out of your life. Have a plan and make sure you can work that plan to keep your stress levels low. You want to keep that emotional wheel tight to the bus. Third wheel is your physical wheel. Stay game ready. Stay game ready, especially when you're not in the off season. When you're in season, stay game ready. Don't try to catch up with everybody else because you've been lazy or because you haven't been working out or because you haven't been going to, your extra stuff outside of normal practice. Nobody just goes to practice anymore. Nobody. If you're just going to practice, you're behind. You're behind. Everybody's getting extra work. Even we tell our golfers all the time, listen, golf's a little bit different animal, but we tell our golfers all the time, we have practice every day, Monday through Thursday. Okay? If we're not practicing, we're playing. On the days we're playing, if you're not going, there's only 4 or 5 that go. We have 18 on the team. All the rest of those other 14, they're expected to be at the golf course. There's no coach there. We're off playing. But if you're just showing up when somebody's paying attention, you're behind. You're going to be behind. So keep your physical wheel tight to the bus. Stay game ready. Always do more than what is required of you. And then your fourth wheel is your social wheel. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Who are you hanging out with? What are you doing away from my presence? What are you doing? Oh, listen, as a coach, I can't control what your home life's like. Okay? All I can do is love you and support you when you're with me. But what are you doing when you're not with me? Who are you around? Who are you hanging around? What are you doing outside of this group, this team and these teammates? Right? That's your social wheel. You gotta make sure you have your social wheel right, because let me tell you something. If you have your social wheel wrong, it can derail the entire thing. If you get with the wrong group, it can derail the entire thing. And this is what that means. Listen, you can be friends with everybody. You can be friends with everyone. We want to love everyone. But you have to decide who you allow to pour into your life. You need to pour your life into everyone that will allow you to. You need to pour your life into everyone. But you need to decide who you allow to pour into your life. And so that's what that social wheel is about. Team, who are you allowing to pour into your life outside of this circle? Outside of me and your teammates, maybe your parents, maybe your pastor or your youth leader, who are you allowing to pour into your life? And what are they pouring in? Right? Are they pouring in water or poison? And how's that affecting you? So your 4 wheels, again, your spiritual wheel, God first. Your emotional wheel, reduce stress. Your physical wheel, stay game ready. And your social wheel, show me your friends. Show me your friends. And listen, that's when you talk about coaching philosophy, listen, Coach Billy used to say this all the time, and I repeat him often. It's not about the X's and O's. It's about the Jimmys and Joes. It's about the guys and the girls that you're coaching. Right? The X's and O's happen. They happen because they're supposed to happen. They're going to happen. But my philosophy is I'm focused on the kids I'm coaching. I'm focused on them as a person. I'm focused on their life, how they're doing, them. And so here's what we know. If you've ever had a coach like that in your life, you know you're picturing that coach right now. And that may be the very coach that has you sitting in this chair right here. right? And we all know that when you hear athletes talk about coaches and talk about that coach, that coach in their life that pushed them, that loved them, that cared for them, that went above and beyond the coach's role for them to get them to where they are today, that coach, that type of coach, that's the type of coach I want to be. Right? That's the type of coach I want you to be. I want you to be that type of coach. And you should be. And you should be not because you just want to be a great coach, but because as Christ followers, we're called to be that type of person. We're called to love others and to support others and to disciple others. My favorite verse right now, the verse that I use often in my men's groups that I share, 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 1 and 2. It says, "You then, my child, be strengthened by the grace that is in Christ Jesus. And what you have heard from me in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to faithful men who will be able to teach others also." So it's a passing down, right? It's a passing down. Things that we take in, the way we're discipled, whether you're talking about discipled in Christ or whether you're talking about discipled in baseball or discipled in football. You understand discipleship has its own definition. You can be discipled in anything. You can be. Some people call it apprenticeship, right? You can be an apprentice to an electrician or to a brickmason, right? You can be an apprentice. You can be an apprentice to a coach, right? That's discipleship. You're learning from someone else how to do what they do, right? And so, as you move forward, I want to encourage you as you begin to be discipled by coaches that are going to be teaching you when you move into those sports. Right? You got to separate the wheat from the chaff, because everybody doesn't teach the same way. Everything they tell you and show you and teach you, some of it's going to be for your good, but some of it you're going to know. Some of it you got to separate it. All right? You're going to walk out into a world of coaching that may or may not care anything about Christ. And so you're going to experience it all. You've got to be able to separate the wheat from the chaff, the good from the bad. Dr. Briggs sent me some questions just to think about and maybe talk about in the class today. I just want to answer some of those. I thought they were really good questions. I want to answer some of those for you. The first question he asked was how I discipled for Christ while working to win on the field. And it kind of goes back to that coach, that coach that people talk about. I want to be that coach. And what that means is the players that are under me, whatever sport it is, whatever role I'm in, whether it's a position player or whether it's an entire team, and I've been in both roles, but whoever that is, I want them to know that I love them, I care about them, I support them, and I'm here for them. Right? I love them, I care about them, I support them, and I'm here for them. So, Coach Coan, me and my girlfriend broke up. I need to be able to have that conversation. Coach Coan, my grandma passed away. I need to be able to have that conversation. I need to be prepared for those things. Coach Coan, I'm flunking science. I need to be able to listen, but I also need to be able to help, assist, whatever that means in that moment. Right? I want to be that coach for those kids. And so how do I disciple? So I disciple first by being who I'm called to be in Christ. Right? You're not going to hear me cussing on the sideline. You're not going to hear me demeaning refs or other teams or their coaches. Even in the face of opposition and unfair play or whatever. I just don't do it. I don't see any use for it. I have officiated as well, and let me tell you something. No official in the world gonna change a call just because you think it's a bad call. Now, in the days of replay now that they have, they'll change calls based on replay. But I promise you, no official is gonna change a call because you want to get out there and yell and scream and run your mouth. None of them are gonna say, "Oh yeah, I think you're right, coach. Yeah, I'll change that call. Batter's out." No, they're not gonna do that. They're not gonna do that. So there's no need for that. There's no need for that. So the first way that I disciple is just being who I am in Christ. Right? Just living that in front of my players. Does that mean I'm perfect? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I don't want my players to have any question about my character, who I am as a coach, who I am as a man. I don't want any of my players to ever have a question about that, or their parents, for that matter. Second question was who inspired me to coach, or who influenced my coaching. I've had a lot of different influences over the years. I shared with you at the beginning of class that my dad was one of my coaches, and I grew up in a coaching family, and I was around him probably way more than he wanted me to be, but that was apparently the rule in my house, because I don't know if you know this or not, coaching keeps you away from home a good bit, keeps you out of the house. And so apparently the rule was, if my dad was at the field, he had to take me with him. He had to take me with him. I guess my mom didn't want to. She had other things she needed to do. She didn't want to run around chasing me all day. So I spent a lot of time there. So he was my main influence. However, as I began to play sports, I had those coaches in my life, right? I can go back and I can think about the coaches that not just coached me. I had coaches that just coached me, right? But I also had coaches that cared about me, and I remember them. I had coaches that helped me, and I remember them. I had coaches that took extra time to help me be successful in what I was trying to do for them, and I remember them. And then as I became a young coach, I also had other coaches in my life that I coached alongside, my peers, but that had been coaching longer than me, that I drew from, right? They showed me different things. They showed me offenses and defenses and strategies and whatever we were doing. And I learned things from them, And so there's a lot of different ways that you can gain that influence in coaching. The next question was about my coaching philosophy. I've shared that with you. My coaching style really is just, we do the work, the details. We do the fundamentals, the things that create good things happening in the game. We focus on the details, we focus on the fundamentals. I'll give you an example. As a wide receivers coach, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, my guys got sick of running routes. They got sick of it. But when you watch them run routes in a game, there was no other freshman football team that we played up here in the upstate of South Carolina that ran routes like my ninth graders did. Because I wasn't just letting them be athletes. I was making them pay attention to the details. Right? If it was a 7-yard cut, they better cut it 7. If they cut it 8, somebody's picking the ball off. If they cut early, they're not getting where I want them to get to on the field. If it's a 7-yard cut, they better cut it 7. If not, we're going to do it again. Right? It was all about details. It was all about details. You can do that in I know gymnastics is all about details, right? Because gymnastics, they count off, when they're judging gymnastics, any little thing, they count off for it, right? Count off from a perfect score. And so it's all about details. Golf, I'm coaching now. You make one small mistake in your swing, you're talking about the difference in a 3-foot circle, now you're talking about 15 yards, right or left. It's all about the details. And so there's nothing wrong with gamers. I've coached many gamers. Love to have them. Love guys and girls that can turn it on when the lights come on and get the job done. Nothing wrong with that. But in practice, we focus on the details. We focus on the details. I thought this was a great question. How have you handled loss or great difficulty coaching a team? Listen, it's inevitable. You're going to experience this in your coaching career. You will experience a time when maybe even a player passes away during, in or out of season, right? Or maybe you're often gonna deal with players that have personal grief or loss during the season. But sometimes it happens at a team level. Sometimes it happens at a team level. Just this past week at Byrnes High School, right before our playoff game on last Friday, 2 of our linemen had a car wreck. They were together, leaving a team breakfast, going back, and they had a car wreck. Luckily, nobody died. It was terrible though. I mean, broken bones, both had surgery. It was a big deal. Thankfully, they're both good, other than, broken bones and things, but they're gonna be okay. But as a coach, you gotta deal with that. Then you gotta try and play ball in 8 hours, And so you gotta be ready for those kind of things. And here's what I can tell you about that. Whatever the scenario is, whatever you're dealing with, whether it's in an individual player's life or whether it's a team level, the first thing you want is you want to know that they can come to you. You want them to know that before any of that stuff ever happens. Before any of that stuff ever happens, you need to have established yourself in such a way that they know they can come to you. They know they can. They know they can come to you, they know you'll support them, and they know you'll pray for them. Because in their eyes, even for the ones that don't have the biblical worldview, that don't know or believe in Jesus, in that moment, you're their hope. Because they see hope in you, right? They may not acknowledge that it's Christ in you. That's fine. But they see hope in you. And so you're their hope at that moment. You're the person they're going to come to. You're the person they're going to lean on. You're the person that's going to receive that from them. And so in those moments, don't flinch. Be that hope, right? That's not the time to worry about anything other than loving that player and supporting that player. Doesn't matter what their belief system is. Doesn't matter where they're coming from. They're hurting. You have the hope. So be the hope. Next question was, what books did you read that might have been helpful? Be honest, I didn't used to be a big reader. I wasn't a big reader. I tell this story sometimes. When I was in school, this is probably not something I should be telling in college. Well, y'all passed most of the stuff. But if there was a movie, I watched it, right? I wasn't a big reader, right? I didn't read books a lot when I was in school. I didn't like to. I did if I had to. I was all about, it was Cliff Notes back when I was in school. I know it's Spark Notes or something now. But I was that guy, right? And it didn't pay off very well, by the way. But I've become a great reader, right? Here's what I've learned. Things that you want to accomplish in life, you set goals and you set out to accomplish those goals, and you find that to get from point A to point B, there's usually reading involved. You're learning something, you're trying to figure out something. And so I will tell you this, my wife and I, we're very different readers. Very different readers. She reads for pleasure, right? I read for information. I couldn't tell you, yes I can. I've never read a book for pleasure. If I'm reading a book, I'm wanting to gain something, learn something from that information. I would recommend any of the John Wooden books are awesome. Whether it's on coaching or leadership, grab one of those. John Wooden, one of the greatest coaches ever lived, ever. His coaching style, his leadership style, second to none. Not just in basketball, but you can apply his principles in whatever you're doing. Whatever you're doing. I'm currently reading, and this has nothing to do with coaching, but it definitely has to do with leadership. I'm currently reading a book called Lead. It's by Paul David Tripp. And it's specifically talking about leading in the church, but leadership's leadership. And so there are always good things that you can pull out of those type materials. Paul David Tripp, Lead, L-E-A-D. Can you recommend any personal or professional development to young aspiring coaches? Here's what I recommend. Do it all. Anything that's available to you. For me, at the public school level in South Carolina, we have clinics, we have statewide clinics, we have regional clinics, we have position clinics, we have sports clinics, and I would encourage you to do as much as you can, right? Be a part of what's going on in your area, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, gymnastics, whatever it is. Be involved in whatever professional development is going on in your area. Be a part of it, right? Whatever you can get to. Whether it's just help you, listen, one of the things that we did, especially when we were in college, is you would volunteer to go help at the local track meet, go help at the local lift-a-thon, go help at the local whatever. Lots of stuff happening there, right? You're volunteering, so people love a volunteer. You're meeting coaches, and if it's a regional thing, you're not just meeting coaches from that specific school, you're meeting coaches from all over. And you're there helping out, you know? So you're meeting coaches, and you'd be surprised. If you stay in an area, you're going to run across those coaches again. You're going to run across them again. Go to your clinics. I don't think, nobody's a PE major here, are they? PE majors? No PE majors? Okay. I always tell PE majors, like, we have a state physical education, recreation, and dance. It's called SCAFORD. We have a state meeting every year. It's down at the beach. It's next weekend, maybe. Like, go to those things. Be there. Like, you meet everybody at those. Everybody you meet at those, you're gonna run across them again. Coaches, teachers, you're gonna see them again. If you stay in the state of South Carolina, you're gonna see them again. You may see them as an opponent sometime. You may see them in the school you end up working in. I'm not sure what they have at the college level, but I feel like you're going to be able to find places to plug in to learn. I remember back in the day, we would, as a staff, we would go to a local college and sit down with their staff. I was on a high school staff. We would go to a local college, sit down with their staff, usually around spring. This is when I was coaching football, usually around spring ball, and they would let us come in, and we would do everything from sitting in position meetings with them and listening to how they're coaching their guys, going out on the field with them and seeing how they're coaching them up on the field, hanging out with them, doing debrief after practice and hear what they're talking about in the room, how they're, how they're putting guys on the board and all that stuff. And so I learned enormous amounts from any time that I could sit under somebody that had been doing it longer than me or that was doing it at a higher level than I was. So take all those opportunities you possibly can. Last question that Dr. Briggs sent me. What sort of things did you avoid and would you recommend you guys? And gosh, there's lots of things you can avoid, but here's the main thing I think you need to avoid. As far as it depends on you, avoid conflict. Right? As far as it depends on you, avoid conflict. Does that mean you're always going to be able to avoid conflict? No. No, there's always going to be conflict. All right? Little Johnny's not playing enough. Why not? He's the best there is. He's the best player on your team, coach. Why aren't you playing him? Well, the fact is, he's not the best player on my team. As a matter of fact, there's 3 guys that are better than him at the position he's trying to play. And that's why Johnny's sitting over there with me. He also doesn't behave in class and get his work done. Right? So you're always going to have conflict. But as far as it depends on you, avoid conflict or deal with conflict quickly. Right? Don't let it linger. Make sure you establish your role and whoever you have conflict role. So, for example, different roles in conflict, right? You can have, as a coach, you can have conflict with a player, right? And that's pretty cut and dry. You bring the player in, you work through the conflict. Now, they're usually not going to enjoy the working through the conflict, but you're the coach, they're the player. Just reestablish your role, thank them for the work they're doing, explain to them what the deal is, whatever it is. I automatically got a playing time in my head, just because that's what you deal with most of the time. But just, hey, here's the deal. Here's the depth chart. Here's where you are. You know, till you beat these guys out or girls out, whatever. Because that's a structure thing. You're the coach, they're the player, right? Now, coach to coach. Sometimes you have conflict, coach to coach. It could be about anything. It could be about different things. It could be about player roles. You know, you go coach, especially in football. You end up in a small school somewhere where there's not a lot of players. Listen, you might want him for offense, but I want him for defense. Now, where's he going to practice today? Coach, I need him for offense. Coach, I need him for defense. That's conflict. That's conflict. As far as it depends on you, avoid conflict. Right? Coach, you can have him today. I'll take him tomorrow. Coach, you can have him today. I'll take him tomorrow. I have him stay after practice. Me and him talk after. We'll work through some things after practice. Right? Does that mean you always give in? No, that's not what that means. But it goes back to living peaceably with everyone. As far as it depends on you, we want to live peaceably with everyone. So when we have the opportunity to do that, we want to do that. And then when it comes to dealing with parents, 9 times out of 10, they've never coached what you're coaching. Most of them have never played what you're coaching, and you're the professional in that room, right? You have the experience. Now, when you're young coaches, maybe a little bit different. Always have the support of the people around you. Always have the support of the people around you. So, really, that's a lot of information pretty quickly. And I feel like I just kind of threw it on you. I thought those were some great questions, Dr. Briggs. I appreciate those. But what it comes down to is this. You can be, I want to encourage you. You can be who Christ has called you to be, no matter where you land, no matter what you're doing, at any level, with any team, in any position. You can be who Christ has called you to be, first personally, second professionally. You can do it. You can do it. But to be who Christ has called you to be professionally, you have to concentrate on who Christ has called you to be personally. You build that first. You build that first, and then no matter what happens in your coaching career, all that's called gravy. That's extra, right? We thank God for those things. But we concentrate on who Christ has called us to be as individuals, right? We care for our players. And when you're that coach that cares, and all the kids know you care, you don't have to worry about it moving forward. Once you're that coach, they'll run through walls for you. They'll do whatever you want them to do because they know you care. They know you care. I'm going to stop talking just for a second. I want you guys to catch your breath. Anybody have any questions? I'll attempt to answer anything. But does anybody have any questions, any thoughts, anything, that's been on your mind about coaching, about what's next? Maybe some things you're unsure of, maybe some things you just want to know. Maybe some things you want to know about me. I don't know, whatever. Anybody?
So you left coaching for a little while because God moved you in your career.
I did. Oh yeah, I'll be glad to share that. Yep.
What's it like to ascend back into that as a full-time venture? What's that look and feel like to you?
Yeah, so let me just share the story. So I coached football, softball, football, coached football the longest, coached football for 16 years. And then God had me on a path during that time. What I know now is it was a path to where I am now, which is leading men where I'm currently leading men at my local church. But to get me there, he had to do some things in my life. My parents still attend the church that I was born in, okay? So just a little background. The town that I live in, the school district I live in is the school district that I was born in. It's the school district that my parents were born in. It's the school district that my grandparents were born in. And everybody taught in the school district. So that's the background. So we didn't go anywhere. We're there, right? It's funny, I teach a class at our church called the Connected class. And so one of the things in Connected class is anyone that has been coming to our church for a while that is looking at partnering with us or becoming a member, we ask them to go through Connected class. And Connected class talks about, just it tells them all about the church and what's available, but more importantly, what our mission and vision is and who the leadership is. It just tells them all about the church, everything we want to tell them about the church, and then it gives them an opportunity to look at how they would serve in the local church, what their gifts are, what their spiritual gifts are, and all those kind of things. But one of the cool things about our church is If you ask them, we have a connected class every month. It's 3 weeks out of the month. We have a new class that starts every month. Every month, there's at least 10 to 12 people in that class, new to our area. Now, y'all know our area is growing. Back down, I'm down the line. It's booming, right? We got houses going up everywhere. Every month, we got a dozen new people in there. And out of those 12 people, 2 of them are from here. The other 10 are from other states. Nowhere near here. Up north, out west, they come from all over. So to be from here, to always be here, just to be here, from here, never left here, that's not as common as it used to be. It's uncommon now. And so, I grew up, stayed at my high school, went back, actually took the PE job of my elementary school PE teacher. She retired, I got her job, okay? Started teaching elementary school PE, did that for a couple of years, moved into the position I'm in now, teaching intermediate school PE, which is 5th and 6th grade. I've been doing that for 23 years. Started coaching at the high school. The plan was working, right? The plan that I had in my head was we were moving forward. Coached football for 16 years. Well, in the meantime, in my local church, the church I grew up in, the church I was born in, I began to get into children's ministry. Not in the church. I was doing youth ministry in the church, but I was doing children's ministry away from the church, but through the church. So we would go into local Hispanic trailer park, different things like that, and we would do like backyard Bible club and those kind of things, right? And I did that for almost 2 years. At the time, who knows Dr. McWhite here? Right, Alan? Okay, at the time, Dr. McWhite was our interim pastor, right? Dr. McWhite took me to Ecuador for the first time I'd ever left the country to work with kids, right? We went to a school, I worked with kids for a week with Dr. McWhite. It was amazing. So Dr. McWhite, he was leading the team that I was on that started these backyard Bible clubs in these areas near our church. He was a catalyst for a lot of this. So I've been working with kids for a couple of years. Well, the church we currently attend, this church called me to come be their children's pastor. And there was just this, when you look back on the road, it was what I was supposed to do. Right? I've been doing all these kids. So I ended up wanting to be the children's pastor of this church. Well, I did that for a couple of years. And ended up moving into discipleship. Found out in discipleship that men is where I need to be. Men's where I need to plug in. God's called me to love men, to lead men, to encourage men. So that's what I do. But when I left the discipleship and moved into men, that was not a staff position. That was just a lay position, which was fine. But since I was no longer on staff, I didn't have to go to church every day, I was able to get back into coaching. And so I come back into coaching, I don't know, 8 years later. The good news is most of the coaches are still the same people that were around. And because I'm from here, it wasn't that big of a transition back. And I was coming for a purpose, coaching my kid, and the coach that I was coaching with, he and I went to school together. So it actually was fairly seamless to come back. But coaching, whether I'm coaching men at the church or whether I'm coaching guys on the golf course or whether I'm coaching girls on the softball field or guys on the football field, coaching is coaching, discipleship is discipleship. It's almost identical. If you look at discipleship and coaching, apprenticeship, discipleship, coaching, they're all the same thing, right? And so, I know I'm getting ready to run out of time, but let me leave you with this. As you move forward in your careers, whatever that is, coaching, whatever level you coach, okay, remember this. You're always discipling these players. You're always discipling these players. Whether you are meaning to or not, whether you are wanting to or not, you are the figurehead in that relationship. So however you're pouring into them is how you're discipling them. So if you're pouring into them negatively, then it's a negative discipleship. But if you're pouring into them positively, you can change your life. You can change your life. Thank you guys for listening today. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.